Hello, I'm Diele Lobo, postdoctoral researcher with the Midwest Climate Adaptation Science Center, or CASC, and postdoctoral fellow at the University of Minnesota's Institute on the Environment. I am sharing with you today a presentation I developed with Jessica Hellmann, PI for the Midwest CASC, for presentation at the AGU Water Science Conference in June 2024. Our goal at the Water Science Con was to share how transdisciplinary synthesis can be a powerful tool for generating real-world outcomes in climate adaptation, and show the approaches we are using to realize that potential. We repeat this presentation now to share our ideas with a larger audience within and outside the CASC. So, here we go. What do I mean by synthesis research? I refer specifically to a form of research that focuses on assessing and integrating existing knowledge pertinent to a particular issue with the goal of increasing the generality and applicability of research findings, facilitating access to that information, and generating new knowledge. For the Midwest CASC, we expand the definition of synthesis research to make it formally transdisciplinary. Transdisciplinarity involves collaboration among academics and non-academics of differing disciplinary expertise, practical experiences, cultures, and epistemologies to produce context-specific knowledge and pathways to problem solving. In our specific case, we are pursuing synthesis research on climate adaptation, the actions that humans can take to reduce the negative effects of climate change. Next, let me give some institutional context for this synthesis research. It is being by and for the Midwest Climate Adaptation Science Center. The Midwest CASC is one of 9 regional centers and the most recent one, established in 2021. The CASCs operate as partnerships between the United States Geological Survey, USGS, and consortia of regional universities and research-related organizations, with the goal of delivering science to help fish, wildlife, water, land, and people adapt to a changing climate. The Midwest CASC is a partnership between the USGS and 8 research-focused academic, tribal, and nonprofit partners. The specific vision of the Midwest CASC is to apply science around the cycle of adaptation from innovation to application, as well as increasing the capacity for adaptation practice among researchers, stakeholders, and rights holders. Synthesis research was chosen as a central strategy to actualize this vision. We are currently pursuing 6 synthesis projects. Each project tackles a different regionally relevant management challenge, and the 6 projects are listed on this slide. However, all projects deploy a common purpose and some common strategies. The University of Minnesota is leading the first synthesis project, the number 1 on this slide. In this first project, which I will use as a case study, we seek to understand the state of climate adaptation practice in sectors related to resource management and conservation in the Midwest region. Why are we conducting this synthesis project? For 4 reasons. The first one is to gain new understanding and increasing awareness of adaptation planning efforts in the Midwest region. Also, shape understanding of the interconnections of adaptation practices and works from natural resource managers across sectors and jurisdictions. Second, to forge productive relationships, increasing and enriching cross-sector conversations among natural resource managers in the region. Third, to advance evidence-based practices of climate adaptation by increasing the awareness and applicability of practices and tools that have already been developed and can be spread. Finally, to increase the capacity for adaptation through workforce development and elevating the views of regional adaptation professionals. That's the why of our first synthesis project. The how relies on three core approaches: interdisciplinarity, stakeholder and rights holder engagement, and research as a social practice. I will give one activity in each of these areas. On the importance of interdisciplinarity as a method or approach in synthesis research. Each project involves a team of academics and non-academics from different organizations across the Midwest, which we designate as the Synthesis Research Working Group. The working group guides a postdoc and a synthesis leadership team at the heart of the synthesis project. In the University of Minnesota project, the working group is composed of 9 people, including social and natural scientists and practitioners from nonprofits, tribal, and federal agencies. On the importance of engaging stakeholders and rights holders in research, we created a community of practice to interact with the designated synthesis researchers. This community of practice includes resource managers from different states and sectors, and it provides a platform for stakeholders and rights holders to share their perspective and input on their research, as well as to learn alongside researchers about each of the synthesis topics. On the importance of research as a social practice, we know that social and cultural values are central to adaptation actions. Therefore, a synthesis project focused on the state of adaptation in the region approaches its work with respect for individual people and organizations, valuing their contributions and their ways of knowing and doing. We are all embedded in social contexts, influenced by norms, history, tradition, and even jargon, and we must be attentive to this context to produce actionable synthesis products. Lastly, a set of key conditions has enabled our synthesis research, and we present these conditions in 4 categories. First, synthesis research must have good governance. And our approach at the Midwest CASC is the cultivation of a transdisciplinary research culture. The USGS Consortium Partnership is also structured in a way that consortium members can explore their interests relatively widely, so that we can capture the intersection of academia and natural resource management. Second, multiple sources of funding and a dedicated budget for engagement activities allow for a robust and reliable program that supports participants. Third, our synthesis projects have direct connections with resource managers who can act on the project's findings. And finally, teams assembled for synthesis research have a deep track record of co-production in the Midwest. And we draw upon the established credibility of participants' pre-existing relationships. So, what to remember from my very short talk about synthesis research? First, synthesis is essential in a world with wicked problems that lie beyond the reach of any single discipline, organization, or community. Second, we have found that interdisciplinarity, stakeholder and rights holder engagement, and attention to the social processes of knowledge production are useful strategies for pursuing synthesis research. Third, that organizations like the Midwest CASC can provide enabling conditions necessary to deliver on the promise of synthesis research. So, I invite you to see if there is a role for synthesis research in your pursuits or organization. And if so, I offer these frameworks and practices to enable your real-world success. Thank you, and stay in touch.